the step for the formation of the blood clot. So the blood vessels are punctured. So the platelets congregate and form a plaque. So the platelets in damaged tissue cells release a proton beam activator, and that initiates the cascade of enzymatic reactions. And then the fibrin threads form a trap in the red blood cells. So this is an image that shows the fibrin threads and then the red blood cells that are trapped within the fibrin thread. Clotting that includes thrombocytopenia. So what happens here is that you have too few platelets, and this is due because there's either not being made in the bone marrow, or there's actually an increase of breaking down outside the bone marrow, and this can be caused by leukemia and some other drugs. And some of the symptoms include excess bleeding, thromboembolism, so that's when a thrombus or stationary clot forms and travels, and this is called now embolism, so it actually plugs another vessel. So hemophilia A, hemophilia B, also known as Christmas disease or von Willebrand disease. So this is an inherited disease. What happens here is that you're unable to form the clot, and this can be partially treated with injections of the missing proteins. For example, blood type A, B, AB, and O, and the blood type is determined by the proteins that are found on the surface of the red blood cells. So blood transfusions is a transfer of blood from one person to another, and it is extremely important to make sure that the blood types are compatible. Otherwise, what you're going to have is agglutination or clumping of the red blood cells, and this can be fatal to the patient. A, B, and O blood groups. So antigen is a foreign substance, often a glycoprotein that stimulates an immune response. So the blood types are determined by the presence or absence of two antigens, so type A and type B. So type A blood has the A antigen, type B has the B antigen, type AB has both the A and the B antigens, and type O has neither antigen. So here we have two images of red blood cells. So on the first one, you actually have a type A antigen, and that particular cell has anti-B antibodies. And on the bottom one, you have a type B antigen, and that has anti-A antibodies. So this is why extremely important whenever you do a blood transfusion to actually make sure that the blood are compatible. Otherwise, you can actually kill the patient. So here we have two more images of red blood cells. So on the top one, you actually have the type AB blood. So this one has both antigens. So this is known as universal recipient, which means that you can give any blood type. On the bottom, you actually have a type O blood type. So this one doesn't have any of the antigens. Now, the blood type O is known as universal donor. However, you can only receive blood from another type of blood. Type A blood makes anti-B antibodies. Type B blood makes anti-A antibodies. Type AB blood makes neither of these. And type O blood actually makes both of them. So antibodies are specific and bind only to the antigen that they're made for. Transfusion. It is extremely crucial to know the blood type of the patient. And the reason for that is because if you give in the blood type, you can actually kill the patient. So an example here is like type A. You cannot receive blood from type B or type AB blood type. If you are a type B blood type, you cannot receive blood type from type A or AB. Blood type O is the universal donor, which means that you can donate blood to any of the other blood groups. And if you are blood type AB, you can actually receive blood types from any other blood groups. And the reason for that is because you actually have both proteins, and so you're not gonna create an immune response. Versus, like say a blood type O, you don't have any of those proteins, and what's gonna happen is that if you don't get a blood from another blood O type, then you're gonna create an immune response. There's another blood groups to consider, and that's the Rh factor. So then it's just basically another protein that is found within the surface of the cells. So Rh positive, it basically means that you have the presence of another protein, and Rh negative means that you don't have. And now, unlike anti-A or anti-B antibodies, anti-Rh antibodies are only developed after the person is actually exposed to the Rh factor. So when a woman who is Rh negative gives birth to a fetus that is Rh positive, some of the blood actually leaks out into the mother. so that causes the mother to make anti-RH antibodies. And so if a woman has is pregnant again with a second child, and so what happens is that if the second child is Rh positive, these antibodies can actually cross the placenta and attack the fetus red blood cells. Now this is a problem because it can actually lead to death. In order to prevent this, what happens is that the mother usually receives a shot of the anti-Rh antibody, and this is done within 72 hours of giving birth to a child who is Rh positive, in order to prevent from this from happening. Interacts with other organs in the body, such as, for example, the lymphatic system. So intrastanial fluid originates from blood plasma, and this is absorbed by the lymphatic capillaries, and this becomes the limbs. So the lymph courses to the lymphatic vessels, eventually returning to the cardiovascular system. System also interacts with the respiratory system, and the reason for that is actually to deliver oxygen from the lungs to the rest of the body. And it also interacts with the cardiovascular system and the digestive system. So, and this is done to deliver nutrients from the digestive system to the intestinal fluid. It also removes metabolic waste and delivers waste to the excretory organs. The system also interacts with the muscular system, and this is extremely important because it actually contributes to blood movement. So the cardiac muscle contraction circulates blood throughout the body, and the muscle contraction or relaxation in blood vessel walls changes the vessel diameter, and that helps to maintain the correct blood pressure. And the skeletal muscle contraction compresses cardiovascular and lymphatic vessels. So the lymph returns to the cardiovascular veins, and blood in the cardiovascular veins drains back to the heart. Also interacts with the skeletal system. So the red bone marrow produces blood cells, and the bones contribute to the calcium ions. So this is done for the process of blood clotting. And the cardiovascular system and also interacts with the endocrine system. So basically the hormones regulate blood cell production and bone calcium release as well. The vascular system also interacts with the urinary system. So the kidneys help regulate the acid-base and water-salt balance of the blood intestinal fluid. And erythropoietin, a hormone produced by the kidneys, stimulates red blood cell production as well.